When I was a kid, I was mommy's little sous chef. I have been cooking since I was 5, and that was something that I just knew in my heart I wanted to do. I was like, I am gonna be a chef. I know that I wanna cook. I love food so much. I don't know what mom gives their child a Chinese meat cleaver for their birthday, but my mom gave me one when I was about 10 years old, and it was special. I remember doing everything with that knife. That was what I would slice bok choy with and julienne ginger. I wasn't asking for toys. I was asking for a meat cleaver and a wok. And so, cooking has always been that thing that lit me up. By like age 10 or so, I was cooking for the family. I was putting dinner on the table. My parents would come home late from work, and someone had to feed us. Over time, I realized this is a way that I could kind of share a part of me and in a way like nurture my family and love them. I had always known in my heart that I wanted to be a chef, but so many people didn't believe me, and it was tough. You know, there was a lot of pushback, a lot of back and forth of, are you sure you want to do this with your life? You're gonna be working every evening, every weekend, every holiday. And it never stopped me. Cooking was the one thing that made me feel confident and made me feel happy. And I figured, how bad could it be to do something that you love and do it all day? I went to a traditional college, then I went to culinary school, and then moved to San Francisco, built my career in Michelin star kitchens out here, and I never looked back. It's the best thing I ever did, was to follow my gut. I think back to when I was a kid, and I'm like, you know what? Like, you knew, and I'm proud of you for knowing. I had never really seen anyone that looked like me that cooked, other than Julia Child and Martin Yan. I watched them obsessively on PBS as a kid, and it was seeing a woman and an Asian man cooking, and that was everything. Over time, I ended up training under different mentors, from Chef Dominique Crenn to Ron Siegel, and a handful of women in the early years of my career really brought me up. And it was powerful. It was powerful to see other women in the kitchen cooking, queer women in the kitchen. I went on a show called Top Chef. I competed twice. It's the most stressful thing I've ever done, twice now. But it was such a beautiful experience. You know, the first time I competed, I was painfully shy. I didn't want to go on TV and cook and compete and be under these like high stress situations. But a part of me was also curious, and I was like, I know I need to just kind of just lean in a little bit and give it a go, see what happens. And my first time I went on that show, I was gonna like barf the whole way through. It was just up in nerves. And after I came out of that experience, so many people reached out and they told me how they were so proud of me, and they saw an Asian woman cooking in a kitchen, a queer woman, and that they were just so proud to see my story in a situation where, you know, they had never seen anyone like me on television. And so it kind of got me thinking back to Martin Yan and Julia Child and when I was a kid, and seeing the importance of representation. So many people were messaging on social media that they came out to their parents because they saw my story, that they're, you know, Asian American, and they felt so proud of me. And they saw someone that was cooking food that they grew up with, that they had in their lunch boxes. And so that made me feel proud. It made me feel proud of myself and putting myself out there. And so I went back. I did it again. I went on All Stars. And I feel like you see a different person come out of that journey. You see someone that wants to be there, someone that wants to win. And I wanted to continue to put my food out there and put my story out there for people. I had a chance to go on Sesame Street and introduce the first Korean-American Muppet. Her name was Ji-young, and she's the cutest little thing. And I had a chance to cook with her and teach, you know, the children of America about Asian food. Cookie Monster was my sous chef, and Elmo was there, and it was just this full circle moment for me because I used to watch them and I was learning English with them as a kid. And I now got to be in a position to, be that role model, and to share Asian cuisine with people out there. It was the best day of my life, cooking with Cookie Monster. He's a sweetie pie. And he's a goofball. He ate all my food. We made dumplings, we made tteokbokki, we made Hong Kong milk tea tiramisu. I had these foods in my lunchbox as a kid that oftentimes made me a little embarrassed to bring, dumplings to school, or my mom's leftover fried rice. And here I am embracing it and feeling proud and being in a position to be able to share that with other people. And so it was a full circle moment. My cookbook is called Cook Like a King, and it's embracing Chinese Californian dishes from my life, dishes from my childhood. I'm a Chinese American. I grew up in Los Angeles. I live in San Francisco. I've traveled to many parts of Asia and Europe, but I trained in French fine dining. So the book has a bit of everything and elements of fusion, and really leaning into these diverse techniques and flavors that really captures the story and journey of me as a chef. It took me a couple years to write, but I like to say it took my whole life to write. I'm a very nostalgic person. There is so much nostalgia throughout this whole book. Each recipe has a story of where it came from, how it was birthed. Cooking it's a sentimental thing. I cook with my memories. I cook with my heart. And a lot of these dishes are things that I made with my grandma. I would crimp dumplings with her in the kitchen and, hang out with my mom, and we would steam a Chinese egg custard with clams. There's a Taiwanese popcorn chicken dish in there, and that's something that I used to eat at boba shops in high school. There's even a dish that my dad makes, which is Shanghainese lion head meatballs. And, that was my stinky lunchbox as a kid that I was embarrassed about. But now I get to showcase it, and I get to be proud of it. A lot of this book is wanting it to be approachable, wanting it to be things that anyone can make. I think about, half the time I don't have time. I'm running around and I'm, trying to just throw dinner together. And I used to do that as a kid. And there's this there's cooking professionally, and then there's cooking at home. And at home, it should be fun. It should be easy and quick, and be able to feed a whole family. And so that was what I kept in mind. I kept in mind the ease and accessibility of a lot of these dishes, but also packing flavor through black vinegar, miso, Szechuan chilies, just embracing that Asian pantry and having it become a part of your everyday cooking. I have wanted a cookbook since I can remember, and I remember receiving it in the mail, and I opened it up, and I just started crying. I just cried because it's a journey, first of all, to even make the book, but to be able to tell a little bits of my life, and it's almost like a food memoir. You see the journey and the life that I've lived through the recipes. I love cooking for my friends and family and just hosting dinner parties at my house. I think families can be tricky, but there's a point where you build your own family and you build community. Food is my love language, and I just love cooking for my chosen family. My name is Melissa King, and this is my brief but spectacular take on cooking with pride.